apologize for the video quality. We're just doing this on my iPhone so I can get the information to you quickly. So the question is about horizontal flexion and extension. Is it movement? Is it a position? How does it happen? I think the best way to think of it is the way that Julie said it, that horizontal flexion and extension, they're not positions, they're movements that happen in the transverse plane. If I start with my arms at anatomical neutral and move along the coronal midline outwards like this, that's abduction, abduction. Once I'm here, I can move my arms inward and outward along the transverse plane toward the sagittal plane, which is horizontal flexion, and away from the sagittal plane, which is horizontal extension. When I move my arms back down along the coronal midline, that's pure abduction, pure and simple adduction, moving down along that plane. In a similar way, I can move my arms forward in pure flexion along the sagittal plane. Once my arms are here at this location, I can move them outward, away from the sagittal midline, horizontal extension. I can move them back towards the middle, horizontal flexion. If the arms are slightly below or above the transverse plane, I think it's really useful to kind of think of that still as horizontal flexion and extension, even though it's not purely exactly 100% on the transverse plane. A little bit below and a little bit above, I think we're still going to get muscular synergies that are going to pull anterior deltoid, subscapularis, in some instances, the pectoralis major, that they're going to be involved in the horizontal flexion action. Those synergies will still exist even if we're a little above or a little below. So I would say that a movement like this is horizontal flexion still, especially if we're not changing level at all. And a movement like this is also horizontal flexion or horizontal extension. The confusion comes when we return, say, from an indeterminate position like this to a place like that. I was kind of almost like I was in a place where horizontal flexion and extension were possible, but I was in between. And now I'm returning my hands. In this instance, I would say that I am adducting eccentrically, but I'm also extending eccentrically. So we have eccentric, adduction, and extension in this instance. If I'm coming up to this position, even if I come all the way up here, this is definitely abduction and flexion of the shoulder, concentric. And once I'm here, again, I can do all of my cool kind of horizontal flexion and extension movements. So don't be confused between the things that you do to get up into this transverse plane or down into this transverse plane. They're not, those things themselves are not movements of horizontal flexion and extension. Those are just whatever movements that it takes to get you there. Once you're here, all of this, and I would say a little bit above and a little bit below, those are horizontal flexion and horizontal extension.